Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. All right, so you can't hold a good brother down. And it looked like Twitter tried to hold down Jordan B. Peterson. And that's not going to happen because this brother has way too much support and he's way too intelligent to be held down by anyone. So we about to go ahead and check this out. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button if you like what you see. And if you don't, just go watch another video of ours until you do like what you see. All right, let's go and check this out, man. He looks serious, so let's get into it.
CEO of Twitter. Dear Mr. Agrawal, I wrote this when it was literally 2 in the morning during my recent visit to beautiful Samos, Greece, where I was on business attending to my efforts on the educational front. I woke up suddenly from my slumbers with you and your company on my mind in my jet-lagged state, unable to drowse further, and so I sat there writing instead of sleeping, which the more cautious and sensible part of me wished devoutly I was able to do instead. A few weeks ago, the wise folks at Twitter deemed it necessary to suspend my access to that platform, despite the fact that I had several million followers, despite the fact that I had used the platform in good faith, despite the fact that I had put in the years of time and effort necessary to gain such an extensive following, despite the fact, as well, that I was a genuine force on Twitter, trending with a rather appalling and frightening degree of regularity. In many ways, I'm your monster, sir. The reason for the suspension? It's not exactly clear, because very little is exactly clear, Mr. Agrawal, with regard to your social media network, apart from the fact that you allow an awful lot of misbehavior. What with the appalling proliferation of anonymous and near demonic trolls and bots, and professional manipulation of the public space by actors such as the Russian and Chinese governments, and the proclivity of your own people to censor only those voices they don't agree with politically.
I love this so far. And I also want to add, you don't punish anyone who bring like so many consumers and customers to your platform. That's like if I did the advertisement and I was responsible for bringing millions of people to a business or a company, and they started to use it themselves, they started to sign up, and it trickles down because the more people that start, they're starting to be a part of it now. I'm posting content that they enjoy, they are sharing that content, they themselves are becoming more popular on this platform from sharing my content. So I started it all, and now they're going to bring other more people onto the platform, keeping them there, constantly engaging, aren't doing anything to mess up anyone's life, but to make people's lives better. And I get punished simply because we have different ideologies when it comes to politics. That's just absolutely ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
The tweet that brought about my suspension was one directed, for better or worse, at the actress/actor Ellen, now Elliot Page, who I criticized, along with his or her physician, for publicly trumpeting and publicizing the decision to have her perfectly functional breasts removed in the attempt to switch sexes, which decision was up to him or her, and appropriately, I at least half suppose, but which also served as a much publicized, more than 1.5 million Instagram likes, model for confused adolescents who might be considering, in their juvenile confusion, walking down the same direly and irreversibly damaging road. I don't think for a moment that it was even the criticism per se that resulted in my ban, but my use of Ellen's original name, a practice which the exceptionally active, yet exceptionally tiny and noisy and endlessly troublesome trans activist so-called community has decided to term dead naming, and which has in consequence become, by their anarchic and presumptuous fiat, the modern equivalent of a mortal sin.
Man, your daggone vocabulary is immaculate, brother. It's immaculate. I need to start reading more. Wow. I'm blown away. I am literally blown away, bro. And this is unfair as hell. Twitter. This is unfair to any platform that shuts anyone down just from being truthful and not badgering anyone, not bullying anyone, not who are operating under good intent. Bruh, why would you shut someone down like that? It makes you look soft. It makes you look criminal. It makes you look guilty of something. It makes you look like you're in bed with someone who are just coming together to be against a certain personality that don't agree with them. That's just ridiculous. It's uncalled for. It's petty. It's childish.
But I don't know.
That's a fly jacket, bro.
Do I? Because your idiot policies of arbitrary exclusion are unbelievably and appallingly ill-defined.
Get him, bro.
Thus, I'm not granted the opportunity to face my accuser or accusers. Is there just one? Are there many? Who are they exactly? Are they inside or outside of Twitter? Why have they been granted this decision-making power? And I continue not to know. Even though I followed your equally ill-defined and parameterized appeal process with regard to this censorious and judgmental action, undertaken in the shadowy background of your equally shadowy company, as I have yet to hear anything at all from the powers that be at Twitter on that appeal.
The appeal process is trash. They already know that they're not going to read your appeal. They're not even going to respond. They're not going to do anything to it. Matter of fact, they read it. They discussed it. They are salivating over the fact that now we have the power. We have a voice. This is my playground. Oh, I'm losing. I'm taking my ball. I'm going home. The only person that's on the daggone basketball court or out on the football field that brought the ball, but simply because you're losing, you're going to take your stuff and go home. You're being a sucker, man. And a lot of people are being victimized by this, by simply having a voice, by simply speaking up. Oh my grace, this is ridiculous, guys.
Front. But I know absolutely that you know personally of my suspension, and that you have been questioned about that, because I have been told by a very good and exceedingly influential friend of mine who spoke directly to you very recently, that he asked you just exactly what in hell you were thinking when you banned me. And I also have heard that an equally or even more influential person, with whom you have also recently had very public dealings, which did not turn out well for your company, has raised exactly the same concerns. And I also know that your demented and presumptuous minions have their eagle eye on my account, or that a coterie of influential activists is monitoring my online behavior on Twitter assiduously, despite my banning. How exactly have I come by this information? Well, 2 days ago, I deleted the Ellen Page tweet. Why? When I said quite publicly that I would rather die than do so. Well, I needed to do some house cleaning on my account in relationship to some other tweets I had posted many months ago. A relatively minor matter, but one that became a somewhat pressing practical necessity. Afterward, I reposted a screenshot of the Page tweet, stating that I was obliged to do so, as I had given my word that I would not delete it, despite my suspension and the attempt at public shaming that suspension hypothetically constituted. And bingo! Within hours, I was banned again. So your staff can act pretty damn fast when it comes to registering and reacting to my hypothetical misbehavior, but are pretty darn slow when it comes to, say, responding in any manner whatsoever to the appeal I submitted, objecting to the ban, or at least raising questions about its rationale.
Why even have an appeal process if you're not going to allow, if you're not even going to do it yourself, do your side, do your part? This is ridiculous, man. Also want to point out one other thing. Whoever did the colors for this whole scene that Jordan Peterson has right now, They are on point. I would like to hire them. Reason why, they got the green bottle and they got the brown, what's that, the magnifying glasses and whatnot over there for the, what's that, a whole reading kit and oh, that looked like that bottle opener and everything. That's brown, green. Then you look at the picture behind Jordan B. Peterson. It got some green in it. It got some black and brown in it. And then you look at the frame. Then you look at his jacket and his shirt. Brown, green. It's like everything goes together. I should have had on brown and green when I react to this right here. I know this has absolutely nothing to do with it, but it does matter. If it didn't, he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done it. He's an ultimate professional, and Twitter should treat him as such. Like he is, he's part, and I'm not going to assume that he even believes this, but I will say it myself. He is part of the reason why Twitter is so successful. We all are. I don't care who you're not as small as you think you are. But when you are as big as Jordan Peterson is and have that many followers and you are keeping them on a platform, that's how they're able to sell more ads. That's how they're able to do more business, by keeping people on their platforms. And if he was participating as much as he says he was, and he was as popular as he says he was, then he was providing like 1 percentile of like the elite level of value that other superstars are providing in their own way. He was just doing it with knowledge. Okay.
Now, those opposed to my views, and indeed the fact of my very existence, might object, and do so frequently and vociferously on your hellhole of a platform. Hey, self-proclaimed evil capitalist and proclaimer of the value of free speech, the CEO of free market Twitter and his propagandistic minions have the right to allow or disallow anyone they choose to post on their privately owned platform. And that is true. You and they, see that care with pronouns, have that right, but have also clearly accepted a commensurate.
You see how he did that? You and they. You see that care with pronouns? He's still not being disrespectful. He's still operating as a man of integrity, man. He don't even have to. He should be on here cussing him out. I dare you, mother effers, get on. Y'all know what the hell y'all doing. Y'all can kiss my black butt. You know, he ain't doing any of that.
Although more implicit responsibility. In principle, at least, Twitter is a platform that owes its very existence to the habit, tradition, and right of free speech, the very foundation stone of the great country in which you operate, and has as the only possible justification for that existence outside of sheer instrumental greed, its hypothetical contribution to the exchange of views that make up part of philosophical and political discourse, and humor and wit, and indeed the narcissistic and often near psychopathic commentary that accompanies such exchange, particularly in its electronically mediated form. And I would say,
this dude the goat, man,
that your company does a remarkably and singularly bad job of bearing that responsibility, as your former security lead has just fortuitously pointed out in an interview in Time magazine, which is not exactly a bastion of the conservative or even classic liberal thought that you seem to oppose so randomly, arbitrarily, casually, high-handedly, and inappropriately. Peter Zatko, your former security lead, has painted, in the words of that same Time magazine, quote, a damning portrait of a company in crisis. In an 84-page complaint to federal regulatory agencies and the Department of Justice, which was first reported by the Washington Post and CNN, and which Time obtained from a congressional source, he describes Twitter as crippled by rudderless and dishonest leadership, beset by egregious privacy and security flaws, tainted by foreign influence, a danger to national security and susceptible even to total collapse.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
a lot of flaws,
Wow.
Mr. Agrawal. For someone who also seems to believe that the arbitrary suspension of the truly bad people, such as myself, is a moral necessity to keep the sphere of public discourse pristine.
The type of disrespect that I see on Twitter is crazy. The type of posts that people are putting out there, lacking any value whatsoever, talking about their body parts, talking about other groups, talking about just people being blatantly disrespectful. And they are still on there. They don't care about them. They're like, no, they're not a threat to us because we are on this side and that they are on that side. Like the battle that we're fighting, they're bad for business, man. And we got to get rid of them. So a lot of people who are fans of Jordan B. Peterson, a lot of people who have the same type of I don't know, come from the same side as Jordan B. Peterson, they should probably start looking elsewhere to post their stuff because if it could happen to him, it could happen to all of us, man. I don't get it. I don't do anything to hurt anyone's feelings. I love everyone. I might have my way of thinking and the way that I say things, but come on now, guys. Come on. Are we adults or are we not? I thought we were. I thought we were.
And we might also point out, since we're talking about moral insufficiency, that your recent discussions with Elon Musk didn't fare so well, did they? Since your company seemed utterly unable or unwilling to specify even the percentage of fake bot accounts active on Twitter.
Wow.
A supporter of Twitter might object, Mr. Musk was just looking for the way out of a bad deal. I personally find that argument weak to the point of preposterousness. It's not at all obvious to me that Mr. Elon Musk is anyone's fool, particularly not Twitter's.
He's definitely not.
And one thing that absolutely remarkable man did was reveal to the world just how troubled your much vaunted and incredibly troublesome social media network really is. And on the heels of that debacle, this whistleblower emerged. Not a good month for you, following as you have so recently in the footsteps of Mr. Jack Dorsey, who also seemed to regard the Twitter snake pit he helped establish but could not eventually regulate as a very good place to depart. And then we must discuss the issue of Donald Trump. I would not exactly describe myself as a supporter of Mr. Trump, although I probably would have voted for him instead of Hillary had I been American, although who knows when push comes to shove, and do not possess the paranoia with regard to his machinations that characterizes his most fervent and often near deluded opponents.
You know, I keep forgetting that this brother is not an American. Well, he's from Canada. He's from Canada. I keep forgetting that. I don't know why, but I continue to because he's, you know what I mean? He's always in my face as someone to listen to and someone to watch and someone to, to draw some manly inspiration from. I mean, I have a family, and what he says, the things that he says, his books that you guys have been sending me, which I'm greatly appreciative of, have been extremely valuable for me. And anything that's extremely valuable for me is the same for my family. So I'm appreciative of this guy. So sometimes I forget that he's not, that he's from Canada.
I think that on the campaign trail and in office, he capitalized somewhat dangerously on the resentment festering among the working class, who were so carelessly and foolishly and arrogantly abandoned by their former political representatives on the Democratic side under Hillary Clinton, who richly deserved, in consequence, the moral drubbing she received at Trump's hand. I think that appealing to that resentment, instead of putting forth a positive alternative vision, although he did offer some of that, risked increasing the sense that the fundamental institutions of America, your great country, have now been rendered permanently untrustworthy, instead of simply in need of some reparative vision, some maintenance, and a modicum of necessary house cleaning.
And a
I
modicum.
believe this was a mistake because the radical leftists who believe that everything should be burned to the ground, constitution, capitalism, tradition, identity, make the same claims. And they are the most dangerous opponents of the conservatives.
Bro, what's a modicum, man? This ain't the first time that you keep on throwing out all these words that I don't know. I swear to goodness, man, you are just one of them daggone, you just filled with big words. Words that nobody else uses in the world but professors. Well, nah, that's a lie. Because I read some of the I read the comments under my videos, and these guys, people who comment on my videos, y'all some smart cookies, man. I swear y'all smart. Y'all some smart cookies.
Hypothetically represented by the Republicans. And the last thing we need on the more traditional and cautious side is anything that makes those radical claims appear valid. I also believe that Mr. Trump erred greatly, not least strategically, in his decision to push the narrative of stolen election. Even if he is correct, and I don't believe that he is technically, even though he was treated more despicably and unfairly and prejudicially by his political opponents than any U.S. leader in living memory. The former 45th President of the United States has spent a lifetime advertising himself, and very successfully, as the very model of a winner, as the man to whom such things as having an entire country stolen out from under him simply couldn't happen, as the man whose business acumen and street smarts were such that he could outwit and outfox and charm not only the world's most dangerous and intractable dictators, but his own nearby opponents on the political front in his own country. I do understand, as I said, that many unpalatable and immoral broadsides were launched against Mr. Trump, including his banning from Twitter, Mr. Agrawal, a stain on the political landscape which has not yet been scrubbed away. And I can understand why he feels uniquely embattled. But I stand by my diagnosis. The Donald went off-brand in a potentially fatal manner when he decided to cast himself as yet another victim.
The Donald. Okay, Mr. Peterson, I agree with some of what you're saying right now. But we all know that when the powers to be come together and they want to take somebody out, they do have the power to do so. That's why we're in this video right now, in my opinion. And when something bad happens to you, or when there is, when someone is cheating to try to take you out, or when somebody do something to you that you did not deserve, it's not, I don't think it's particularly off brand to point it out. I don't. Do I think that he was cheated of the election? I still don't know, but do I think it's possible? Absolutely. Absolutely.
But Mr. Trump also accomplished some singular things, in my estimation, and got very little credit for it, where credit was clearly due. He warned the Europeans a few years ago in no uncertain terms that their virtue-signaling submission to the so-called environmentalist and utterly economically and practically deranged globalist utopians was going to bring them great grief, not least by placing them under Putin's thumb, and was roundly and thoroughly pilloried for offering this absolutely accurate and self-evident diagnosis, as he was for so much of what he did. And how much more correct could it be been, as current events have clearly demonstrated? And Trump's team finalized the Abraham Accords, which could obviously have been expanded more recently to include the Saudis. The Saudis, who worked diligently in the background to make that impossible peace with Israel a reality, who offer at least a comparatively desirable alternative to the Iranians, and who might well have been willing to provide the emergency fossil fuel that would have kept gasoline and heating and cooling prices down for Americans at the pump and at home if their rulers hadn't been hectored on very dubious moral grounds by the unwise actors constituting the current Democrat administration. President Obama received a Nobel Prize for doing nothing but winning a presidential election while being black, to put it bluntly, and I think he knew it.
He definitely knew it, but like, I'll take it. I'll take it. Look, I deserve this. It was noble. It was peaceful. It was a prize. It was a Nobel Peace Prize. Thank you. God bless America. I know I sound horrible. I'm not good with impersonations at all. I don't even know why I did that. I'm just weird. I don't mind admitting I'm weird. Okay, back to the professor.
Although he cravenly accepted the prize anyway. Trump and his team and all the people from the Middle East involved in the Abraham Accords received almost no legacy press attention, certainly none that was positive, and certainly no Nobel Prize, even though what they managed was clearly the most significant advance on the peace front in that embattled region since World War II, at minimum. And your company had the presumption to ban Mr. Trump, despite the fact that he was the democratic choice of the majority of your populace. Elected president, remember? And you haven't seen fit to lift that ban, despite the fact that there is truly no shortage of genuinely bad actors on your very poorly run platform. And despite the fact that you simply do not have the moral standing or the authority in the most fundamental moral rather than narrowly legalistic sense to interfere in the operation of the polity that encompasses your operation and that you, hypothetically, are bound in allegiance to. And you banned and haven't lifted that ban on Trump, despite the fact that the ban, in all likelihood, given the centrality and sacrality of freedom of speech, did more harm than good, even if the idea that Trump was not good for the country in the main is accepted. Many, many people have come to distrust Twitter, and indeed the entire domain of corporate-sponsored or hosted public dialogue, because of the murky nature of your decisions to censor or allow. And that has allowed the paranoia and distrust, etc., that your company was hypothetically opposed to when Trump was hypothetically and uniquely, because why ban only him, generating. In my opinion, pushing Trump underground to the degree that you did made everything that was objectionable about his mode of action in terms of its public effect worse, not better.
Yep.
And I don't see any evidence whatsoever that you have seriously contended with that possibility at all. There is plenty of destructive conspiratorial thinking on the right, some of which has turned out to be all too justified. And persecuting those who tend toward that form of conceptualization certainly exacerbates the tendency. But in this era of self-defined identity, you and your people feel good about it. And that's what counts. Although objective facts tend to be pesky things.
I like how I say you and your people feel good about it, since that's what counts. Obviously, that's all that counts. That's all that matters. He and his people feel good about it because he and his friends are still in a good place because of what he did. Jordan B. Peterson was pissing off his friends. His friends made enough noise. He did what he had to do for his own peace. Okay, I'll shut him out. I don't care if he's appealing. It's done. Leave it alone. Don't come to me with it again. I don't want to see his appeal. That's discrimination. That's discrimination. That's exactly what it is. It's discrimination. You're a company at the end of the day. Twitter is a company. Someone was falsely accused of something and completely banned off of their platform. They tried to appeal it and it wasn't even answered. They can care less. Yeah, that was definitely emotions and nothing else.
And they are not so easily dispensed with. You could have just let him continue with his Twitter actions and let the people judge. That's what the Constitution of your country enables them to do. And you interfered with that. And you haven't changed your mind. And you've doubled down instead, despite the revelation of your own company's clear and ongoing moral and practical inadequacy. Back to my situation. From the domain of more general concerns about censorship and carelessness, I have, frankly, found it a relief to be banished from the Twitter world. The anonymous trolls, psychopaths, narcissists, and Machiavellians allowed by your own inconsistent and psychologically inappropriate rules make operating there on any scale frustrating and anger-provoking beyond tolerance. The fact that you so casually enable that tiny minority of cowardly anonymous people who have nothing better to do than cause trouble by generating and promulgating
wow,
the kind
man,
of
you are
derisive,
jumping on a
contemptuous,
tails.
LOL, LMFAO, bro, brah, dude comments.
Go ahead, bro.
That would get anyone.
Oh man, I hit him with a bruh. He said, bro, bruh, dude, comments. And as soon as he said, I said, go ahead, bruh. I'm part of the problem.
Who dared utter even one of them in person to their targets, immediately punched in that mocking, cowardly, self-aggrandizing face, means that your platform represents a signal threat to the integrity of the discourse upon which the stability of your country and the mental health of its youth depend, as you have been directly warned by psychologists of great repute, such as Dr. Jonathan Haidt, as moderate and wise a learned person as you could hope to have for counsel. In consequence, I see very little evidence that you have the ability or the vision or the concern necessary to set the pathological den of serpents that you so apparently carelessly enable and govern straight. And that is a very dire problem, set to get much worse as this fall's crucially important elections loom. A very small minority of truly misbehaving people pose a constant threat to the integrity of society, as they eternally have, and your electronically mediated communication system, with its ultimately and oh so morally but exceedingly carelessly flattened social hierarchy, where anyone whatsoever, even someone who bears no responsibility and who wishes to continue that way, can say anything whatsoever to anyone they choose in any manner whatsoever.
Any manner whatsoever.
And can do so even if they literally do not exist, and are lying outright in the most egregious and troublesome fashion imaginable, is doing nothing but magnifying their positively demonic voices and spreading the chaos those voices are evilly motivated to generate. I wouldn't claim that my behavior on Twitter was perfect, or indeed that any of my behavior is perfect. Twitter is a very difficult platform to use properly, and I have plenty to learn on that front. I didn't want to ignore Twitter despite its pitfalls, even though I probably should have, because for better or worse, your platform is a major social player and psychological/sociological phenomenon, one that I wanted to and needed to and felt a real responsibility to understand, and one that is impossible to understand, let alone master or diagnose, without its actual use. But I tweeted several thousand times to many millions of people and only a vanishingly small percentage of those missives caused the kind of concern that might properly culminate in disciplinary actions, to say nothing of outright bannings, if they were conducted with a shred of decency and care. And I have taken very public steps to rectify and modify my inadequacies on the communication front. It is, therefore, by no means clear that you or those who help you run your benighted and blighted direct democracy, mob rule, psychopath-dominated communication platform have the moral standing to render the kind of arbitrary and careless judgment on the behavior of others you deem inappropriate, who also, just by coincidence, don't happen to share your progressive political views. You have, as noted previously, the technical right to do so, which you do and should. But on the moral front, you and Twitter have an awful lot to learn, and a clear and pressing responsibility to take action on that front, as the power of your platform is immense. And I think the actions of your company are, in the main, making things in the world much worse than they need to be. And I have thought deeply about it and talked to many wise and informed people about it as well, and they agree and are equally or more concerned. So, I am for that reason unwilling to quietly accede to your kind corrective, repetitive, insistent, and thoroughly public though it has been. I would also, in closing, like to reiterate my irritation at the facts that, 1, I was banned from your platform without anything other than a generic and self-serving low-resolution explanation.
That sucks and is unprofessional.
2, that my appeal of that ban was ignored, even though my repetition of the aforesaid behavior was noted and acted upon within hours, if not minutes. 3, that your company's reasons for banning and manipulating or regulating the behavior of your users are utterly opaque, ineffectual, and self-contradictory. 4, that your own security personnel and potential investors or even purchasers of your company have been properly scared off by the chaos that reigns under your authority. 5, that you take to yourself the moral propriety necessary to continue censoring a former president of the United States, even as a critical election approaches, without knowing at all whether or not you are making even the situation under him that you object to worse instead of better, and have absolutely no reliable data pertaining to that possibility. And finally, 6, that your careless, censorious behavior and enabling of the anonymous Machiavellian narcissists and psychopaths who inhabit the Twitter troll underworld is warping and dementing the entire domain of public discourse.
Where does this guy get his daggone words? Everything he just now said was just, it was a tongue twister. It was a mind twister. It was a brain twister. Tongue looked like daggone. This dude is something else, man. Sheesh, if I wanted to repeat that right after he said it, I just now heard it with headphones on. I can't say half of it, not even a quarter. But I know it meant something, man.
People who live in glass houses, Mr. Agrawal.
Let him know.
And you might ask yourself, by the way, who cast the first stone?
Jordan B. Peterson. Huh? That's what I'm talking about. That's how you deliver a daggone message, man. I need to send somebody a message like that too. I don't know who to send a message to yet, but I'm going to send it after I study up on my new words. I need some new words, some bigger words, the best words, the most effective words, man. I agree with that 1,000%. No. It was some things he said that I still have questions about, but the guy, Jordan B. Peterson, is not to be played with. And what was done to him was egregious. It was unfair, it was unprofessional, but guess what? They chose their sides. They much rather be on the side of Hollywood. And right now, Hollywood is extremely emotional. But Hollywood is blockbuster. Is where all the entertainers are. And the entertainers, no matter how disrespectful they are, they keep his pockets fat. The owner and CEO of Twitter, the CEO of Twitter. They keep their pockets fat. And when it comes to that, morality is out the window. Probably ain't got anything to do with supporting his family or anything, but more than anything, probably just keeping up his social life. For him, his co-workers, the people that work for him and under him, and all of his extremely famous rich friends. And they have spoken. In any event, y'all turn. I want to hear what you have to say about this in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I'm Van, and now we are all the LFR family. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video, hopefully inside the Patreon as well. Y'all have been amazing per usual. Love y'all. Bye.